Is that, there you
Yes.
go.
Recording in progress.
Right, it's recording.
Recording.
Fabulous.
This is recording.
So we've got Remy, we've got Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hello.
Hello, Alexander.
Hey, everybody.
Can we see you, Alexander?
Everybody.
See you.
Yeah.
There you are.
Rock
Hi.
your body.
Hello.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
Rock your body right.
I shoot a couple of people away because they're a little bit early, so maybe they're just still logging back in.
Daryl Haynes is back. All right.
On your Darryl.
Everybody. Hey, has everybody heard Hold Me Close to China Dancer? Has everyone heard it yet? I haven't heard the full thing. Cam, have you heard it?
Only that video of him playing it in Ibiza.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I want to hear the whole thing. While we're waiting for everyone else to come, Cameron Adams is, I can't believe he's doing this. He's a legendary Australian journalist, has an impeccable music knowledge, as you can tell from behind him. He has spoken to literally all of my icons in my life, from Madonna all the way through to Kylie. Did you ever meet George Michael?
I met him, but it's no interview, and it's not. Well, it's not safe for work story. But
okay. Oh wow. Yeah.
That's an after this Zoom call. But
and I see you have a little hat behind you, a little aqua hat behind you from
it's a Devo
what
hat.
is that look? A Devo hat. That's so great. And vinyl.
Lots of vinyl.
A little vinyl.
Yeah.
How many people are in the room now?
We've got Mike. Hello, Remy. Hello, Carly. Hello, Carly. How are you?
Hi, Carly.
Good to see you. I've got Sheena back. Hi, Sheena. Thanks for
Hi. Thank you.
And we've got
hey.
Ebony. Thanks for coming back, Ebony. Appreciate you coming back after And then we've got Matthew. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, how you going?
How you going?
Good, how are you?
Hey.
Thank you.
Hey, Matt.
Hey.
Oh, you've got my favorite. Okay. So I'm obsessed with that Xanadu shirt. And oh my God, obsessed. All I've been doing is watching Olivia stuff
Oh my God.
stop. So
Same.
obsessed. So cute. And also, the gentleman who designed that shirt is going to be designing some merch for me on tour.
Oh, so Nordacious. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
The scoop.
We got Michelle and Cass. Wave. Hello. We can see you. There you are.
I need you to hold me tonight.
And
Hi, Cass. Hey, Michelle. Love it.
Nervous.
Sorry, I didn't dress up, guys. I didn't realize it was a thing. Realize there was a dress code.
8, 9.
Let us know when we hit 1 o'clock, and I'm just going to start. Cameron's going to start.
Yeah. Are we all in, Jade?
I think we've got Carly, Hassa, Anna. Is there an Anna? Mike, Alexander, Sheena.
Nice.
Belinda. I can't see Belinda. I don't think there's a Belinda yet. But we can keep going.
This is like play school.
It is. I mean, who's on? Michelle, Adam.
That's good. See, I can make this joke. Aussies get it.
I think we're missing like 2 people. So let's just start.
Cool.
Well, let's just start.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm driving this, so like we're all fans here. That's why we're here. And I have heard this record, Homosexual. Very lucky to hear it, and just want to say that this is exactly the album that we need from you right now, Darren. Like it's just
fantastic,
and
great.
it's kind of the album that like it's just. I was thinking it's kind of like the Personal trilogy, The Tension of the Spark, Delicate Thing. This is kind of like the third one of that because it's like super personal. You guys are going to effing love it. It's just everything we need. It's like it's just, and obviously the most you album yet because you're doing everything, but people will talk about that later on. But I just wanted to, because this is a safe space, there's a couple of songs that I listened to and was like, oh, okay. And you guys will have the same impact when you hear this record. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about a couple of these songs, just so people are like prepared for it, because it is some of them are a little bit triggering, just to be honest. In a whichever way that happens for you. There's a song called Music Video, which is I was actually crying when I heard that song. That for different reasons. But firstly, you're singing it in that sort of Prince Camille, like you guys will know Camille, Prince, that was his sort of alter ego, female alter ego, like very high vocals. This song, and I'm telling you what you already know, Darren, but it's set in 1982. You're a young boy at school. And we kind of, I guess, we know that kids can be cruel, but principals can be cruel too. These are people that are supposed to be forming our young minds. And you say in the song, he says, Darren, there's a word for boys like you. And and so why that sort of vocal effect? Does it sound like a young Darren?
Yes. I'm so glad that you found it emotional, Cam, because the song Cameron's talking about is called Music Video. And it was me telling the story of my experience at primary school. God, I'm so glad I'm talking to Australians, so you know what primary school means.
Yes.
In America, I have to say elementary school, right? And I say the verses are two sort of stories. I say 1982 and 1984. And what I'm talking about is these messages that, I guess all children get, right? It's modeling, but especially for a young gay child in the 70s and 80s, there was this, I got these messages very early on that who I naturally was slap on the wrist, and in this case, in this song, literally spanking from the principal, wrong, repulsive, detention type behavior. And I don't want to spoil the story for you, but it's essentially those little messages that I got from the world, from policing the words that I used. Like if I watched a television show and saw someone on TV and would say, naturally, as a child would, like, I think he's handsome or I think he's cute, whether it be lovingly, the people in my life, like my family members, or cruelly as this principal who was actually a female, Cameron. It wasn't a male, it was a female, which makes this even worse. I get spanked from the school principal in this story for playing with girls, just playing with their hair. And what she says to me, I won't spoil, but you'll hear in the song. And it was devastating because it was like this adult knew something about me as a child in 1982 that I didn't even understand, but they were incredibly homophobic. And they told me as a child, who you are is repulsive, who you are is wrong. And if I catch you behaving like this again, not only am I going to spank you again, but you're going to be in detention. So what I wanted to do with the recording effect was this thing called vary speed. Very hard to do in a digital age, but back in the analog age, what recording artists would do was they would slow the track down with a reel-to-reel tape, and you would record the vocal and play it back at a certain pitch. Very hard to do because a lot of times you just sound like a chipmunk, but Prince did this on albums like Sign of the Times, but a character that Cam described was Camille, where it was his sort of feminine alter ego. But it actually happened a lot in the 80s. Michael Jackson did this on most of the Bad album, just very slightly. So if you listen to songs like The Way You Make Me Feel, Smooth Criminal, Bad, in order to have this angelic, otherworldly quality to his voice. I'm spoiling things here for Michael Jackson fans, but what Bruce Swedien and Quincy Jones did was they used vary speed, and they ever so slightly pitched Michael's voice up. So what I did is I wanted to create teenage Darren, and it took months of experimentation in order to get just the right key, so that it didn't sound like a joke, but it sounded like a young child, and it sounded cool, and that's the technique I used on that song.
And yeah, I mean, it also is a banger. Just so everyone, like, it's the groove is incredible, and it's kind of reminding me. I could be way off here, but if we think of like Crush, Not Only Me, and that was like the Darren. You've talked about the persona, that pop star persona. That was that version of the 80s for you. This is like the bleak reality of what was actually behind the scenes, what you're pushing away. I don't know. That's how I sort of heard it.
Very much so, because this is a trigger warning for anyone that has experienced violence or abuse, but I talk about this a lot on the record. A lot about this album is me when I'm at a crossroads in my life and really looking back at the things that psychologically saved me as a child, and they also saved me about my sexuality. And so it was the ability to dissociate, which is not a bad thing. It is a technique and a trauma trigger or a trauma side effect, unfortunately, that happens to anyone that is a survivor of abuse. But when I was a child, I magically had these worlds that I escaped into, and that's how I was able to become a pop star. But when I was tormented as a child, when I witnessed extreme violence, or in this case, when I had feelings that I didn't want to address, I imagined that I was a pop star. And so the choruses of this song are sort of stadium pop, I would call it, like Gaga, Madonna, 1985 stadium pop, Jackson pop. It's this real stadium pop dream that I disappear into.
And I won't, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but just flagging for people out there, there's a song called Euphoria Equation, which is, if you think Lady Gaga covering Western Girls by the Pet Shop Boys, that's all I'm going to say, and it's incredible. And the other one I want to ask you about, Darren, is Hey Matt, which is 9 minutes and 18 seconds long. And again, just for us, like, and it's, I could be wrong again, but it sounds like it's like the world's longest voice note. Just downloading all your internal sort of hard drive stuff. But who's Matt?
Yeah. Matt's one of my good friends in Los Angeles. And what I'll try to say about this is I hate this word, but famous or a public person. I think I've proven to all of you now that I'm not a celebrity. And that's important to me. I'm not judging that culture, but I definitely knew when I was younger that that exposure to fame ultimately is toxic. And I think that the end result of that is what happened to one of my idols, which is Michael Jackson, right? And I think it's like radiation. I think too much of it can kill you. And that's just a truth. And I think that you need this balance in your life. And I think for me, I was always aware of that. And what happened to me and what I didn't realize was I got to a point in my life where everyone I knew, which can happen to all performers, but everyone I knew and everyone who was friends with me was on my payroll. And when I stopped working, that was really heartbreaking for me because I stopped hearing from a lot of people. And what that does to your self-esteem when you've been famous since you were 23, and I'm now 50, and my friend circle just disappeared, I started to question who I was. So when I moved to Los Angeles, it's been 10 years now, and I have friends that I made through comedy and through improv who didn't know who I was. And Matt is one of those people. This particular song is a voice note, very well spotted, Cam. It's an attempt to call Matthew on the phone when I was particularly distressed, and Matt wasn't home. And I had the foresight, because I'm an artist, I had my laptop with me in my car when I was driving around, and I couldn't get Matt, and I wanted to leave a voicemail, and what I wanted to say was so disturbing and so sad, I couldn't leave it on his phone. But I opened up my laptop and I pressed record on, it was actually a video, and I was driving around LA and I said a lot of the things that are in this song, and I kept it for a long time. Again, this is a trigger warning for suicidal thoughts and ideations. But I guess it disturbed me that it was on there because I thought, if anyone found this, it sounds like a suicide note. But the artist in me thought it was important for me to share the darkness in me, because I'm a survivor of this darkness. I live with depression. I thrive with depression, actually. And so I turned this voice note into a song, and that's what Hey Matt is.
Perfect. And I'm not going to spoil anything else for you guys, but it's just really nice to hear. I mean, you've always been honest and increasingly honest, but it's just nice to hear. Yeah, it's so. And when we've talked about a couple of sort of dark songs, but there is so much joy in this record, and it will be incredible on vinyl. And the production is just everything that we've all grown up with. Darren's kind of downloaded like Shep Pettibone stuff, and just the songs are really long. There's no one in his head going, make it a radio 3-minute pop song. It's just, at this stage of your career, it's perfect. So again, thank you, because there was a point where this album may not have happened. Really happy that it exists. And I don't want to bang on anymore, so I'm going to just cut over to other people. But yeah, I just thought when we all hear this record, there's going to be those kind of songs that people will be like, oh, what's this about? And I wanted to hear everyone to hear from you, not sort of read it through the press or whatever. So that's all.
Thank you, Cameron.
No problems. Carly, are you there? Talk to us.
Yeah.
I am. Firstly, you were talking about how you escaped to different, worlds, icons. I moved house recently and I found this. This is my garden scrapbook, and
Oh,
a bad
wow.
review. But also here, so there was a massive Australian spread. Like, I don't think we'd read the Australian now, but there was a massive Australian newspaper spread, and yeah, I remember that. It's just got so many memories. Look at this. LA Airport.
Oh, that's wow.
And this, I was thinking it's very relevant to your.
Oh, wow. Very.
Yeah.
You look incredible, by the way. I love the jacket.
Thank you for the fashion inspiration, and also this, this delicate thing we made.
Yes, of course.
I was talking to Cameron before, and I said I have to go because I've got a very important meeting. I actually cut it short because of this. I said I have to go. I have to deliver evidence at the Disability Royal Commission. I have to talk about a lifetime of hate speech towards me at this event. So I said, I can't make this meeting today because fandom doesn't come in the way of disability hate speech. So I'm here. I prioritize you over that. So thank you.
Oh my gosh.
I have a question for you, and it is, what would little Darren think about Homosexual, the album? Do I say it homosexual? Homosexual.
You say however you want.
Homosexual.
I love this title of this record, and I always knew it was going to be called this. I mean, one of the aspects of the title of the record is ridding myself of shame. And I think anyone of difference knows what I'm talking about, when there's a label. And for me, I grew up in an era where, first of all, I was called something before I even could reconcile what that even meant. And the most clinical, cold, dismissive description of someone who likes other boys is this word behind me. And I used to be so afraid of that word. And obviously there are generations of humans who were treated so horribly, and I could go back to, say, the Holocaust, where men were actually branded and exterminated, or men and women, and where psychiatrists obviously treated, it was only I think it was maybe 10 years ago that WHO decided that what I am is not a medical condition, so I understand that this is a loaded term, but I wanted to rid myself of the shame that I was carrying, even though I've been married to a man for 17 years, even when I came out, I still had residual associations with this word. And so I think little Darren would listen. Little Darren who was 50% Catholic, used to pray to God to please not make him gay, because I grew up in that era of the Grim Reaper ad, where there was this virus coming. We were told that it was going to kill us, and I thought that just because I had a crush on a boy who I mentioned in music video, in the song music video, that I had AIDS. I thought my thoughts made me gay and gave me HIV, and they said one of the symptoms was swollen glands. So I was convinced that I had HIV, and I thought I was going to die, and that would be how I came out. And I was so desperate for someone to take this burden off my shoulders, and I didn't have anyone to tell, anyone to talk to. And I begged my mother to take me to the doctors. And do you remember, Medicare was a thing, so we were poor, but it didn't matter. So I would tell her, I have these symptoms. And I remember being in the doctor's office and him holding my face. This makes me so emotional because I remember, like, a child shouldn't have to feel this desperate, but I remember looking at the doctor and just hoping that he would see my face and see the worry in this young child's face and say to me, it's okay. You're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. And I thought, if he told me and told my mother, oh, your son has HIV, that would be better than the guilt and the shame and the fear that I felt of carrying this weight in me of being gay. because every day kids would tell me that I was gay. Every day I would get called the F word. It was a horrific time. So little Darren, I don't think, would be able to process that there would be a world where we can exist, all of us, and not just, you know, not just different variations of sexuality, but just variations of being human, body shapes, eye color, you know, various abled bodies. You know, and you and I, Carly, know so much about this. We talk in private about a world that is so, oh my God, defined by straight white men and ability and whatever, and that isn't the world we live in now. So it is changing, and little Darren would just be skipping through this world is the shortest possible answer I can give to you. But thank you for asking that question, and also thank you for everything that you do, because I know you have received so much vitriol, and I don't mean to sound patronizing, but the thing is that you changed my life, because seeing you in an audience, I don't have the ability to, so I'm privileged in that I don't have the ability to hide my difference. And I totally acknowledge the fact that you have walked a path where your difference, you have to confront people's ignorance every single day. And you're just a fucking genius warrior to me. So you've changed my life, and I love you. So
thank you. I love you. I went to a concert of yours a few years ago, like many years ago now, 2004. Your Attention to the Spark, and you just made me feel so special. I remember having a photo with you before everyone else. You've always made me feel that way. So thank you. And
well, yeah, you are. So thank you.
Fandom is such an escapism for people who are different in some way.
And for me too. All of you made me feel normal. So thank you. Lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Bye.
And you guys, if you don't follow Carly on Instagram, her name is on the screen, and you should, because she's amazing. And it just, yeah, I mean, look, I think we're all fans of music, as you are as well, Darren, but it's lovely that you have that interaction with fans, and that you're even doing this. So, and you mentioned, so that gentleman is named in music video. Is that a real name? Have you changed the name?
I didn't change the name, and I haven't checked in with him, so I don't know how you'll feel about it. I hope he's not a homophobe. I'm sure he isn't, but it's a compliment. He was hot, so.
Gear shift. Let's talk. Well, Hassa is there. You would have missed us just talking about Beyonce. Sorry, I think that was off camera, but far away, dude.
Yeah. Hey, Cameron. Hey, Darren.
Hey Hassa. I'm so glad to talk to you properly. We've been internet friends for a long time. So hello.
Yeah, hello. Nice to have this video chat.
Of course, yeah, me too.
Thanks for the I haven't heard the album obviously, but just loving how open you are already with, the big bold name homosexual, just so proud, so thanks for that. A bit nervous, so bear with me.
Don't be.
My question was, I don't even remember it. What element were you most excited for, for your return back to music? From recording, creating new music to visuals to tour. What were you most excited about? Because you hadn't done it for so long.
This connection, the connection to all of you. I greatly underestimated my need for human connection, and it's not just because of the pandemic, but I remember, some of you may have heard this quote before, but I remember, because I've had a lot of therapy, I remember my therapist, I said to them, I was like, I left the stage in 2012 in Brighton in England, and I was leaving, and if very, very savvy fans know that I communicate in signs and symbols. Always. I communicate through song. As a child, that's what I would do. Even in relationships sometimes, rather than have a conversation, I'll put a song on in the car, even to my husband. Drives him crazy. And my pre-show tape was a farewell to all of you. That's what was happening on the Secret tour. That was my secret. I was leaving. Yeah. And when I left after the last song in Brighton, I fell into Richard's arms. I cried because I knew it was over. What I didn't realize was it was just because the music industry had changed so much, and my place in it had ended. It didn't mean that my career had ended, but I needed to take a break. And I didn't realize that it's okay. People like Kate Bush took so long away from the music industry, but I didn't know I could do that since the band ended. You know, you can imagine me. Look, if I'd wanted to be a solo artist, my name wouldn't be Darren Hayes. Let me tell you that. It would have been something like Frangipani Escalator or something. I don't know. It would have been something cool, not Darren Hayes. Okay. So I hadn't planned to be a solo artist. So I think I'd always had this anxiety of like, oh, I have to keep the balls up in the air. And it became exhausting. And I left, and I remember telling my therapist that what I was going to do was come to LA. I was going to open up a comic store that was going to have like this kind of Twin Peaks theme. We're going to sell 4 pies and have free coffee. And it was going to be on my favorite street in Santa Monica. That was going to be my deal. And my therapist just said to me, "What do you know about pies?" I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "What do you know about comics?" I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Okay, so just to let you know, the comic book business is mostly about selling things, making, you know, and you need to know about pies, you need about coffee. It isn't about like just hanging out and meeting. It's a business. Do you really think you, Darren Hayes, can be mortal?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You've lived half of your life being treated kind of like a deity, like being treated special and stuff. And also you're an artist. Like, where's the artistry in all of that?" And I was like, "Oh, nonsense." And what happened was I became really depressed. And Richard said to me one day, begged me, just said, "Look, do you think you can just do something creative? Can you do like an improv class or something? Because you're driving us all crazy." And what I realized was that the artist in me was just as important as the homosexual in me, was that it was a part of me that's been there since I was a child, and I was denying it in the same way that I'd been denying my sexuality. And I have been dying to connect with all of you. One tiny little story I'll tell you. When I first started at Village Roadshow, my publicist was Leonie Messer, and she sat down and she was saying, "Okay, we've got to write your first publicity thing. Let's describe the two of you. You know, let's talk about your personas." And I was like, "I want to be known as mysterious and silent." And she was like, "Yeah, that's never going to happen," right? I'm not that guy, you know, like I've always been a fan. I used to write back to all of you in person via pseudonym, right? That's who I am. So I've missed this, and I'm so grateful to be back so that I can connect with all of you. And I can't wait to be on stage to do the same thing, because I was, you know, I was born to do this.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful question. Thank you.
Glad to have you back. Me and my friend chat. We used to work together, and we'd always you know, be like, "When's Darren coming back? We miss his music." So yeah, awesome to have you back.
Well, thank you for saving a space for me, because I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think now we all know we need to have our little ears pricked up at the gig to see what he's playing for the next tour, to see if there's any little clues or hints or secret squirrel stuff happening. But let's go over to Anna, who has another brilliant question.
Hi, Darren. Nice to speak with you.
Hi, Anna. I thank you. You turned up early. I'm sorry we shooed you away, but I'm so glad to have you back. And you look great, and you're fantastic. And I got to see your amazing hair. And
yes. Thank you. Made my year. Oh, not as much as you. Come on. So look, I mean, all of your fans, your family, as you call us, have grown up with your music. Many of us have had Savage Garden as the very first album, and now I'm suddenly nervous.
Don't be, honestly, it's fine.
So your music has been the soundtrack to our lives, to moments of grief, happiness, and everything in between. How do you hope to see Homosexual be the soundtrack for the lives of those in the LGBTQ community?
Oh, that's such a great question. You know, that's so kind that you said that stuff, because first of all, look, growing up in a family where music was such an escape, you know, my sister and I were huge Diana Ross fans, Fleetwood Mac fans. I have songs that, you know, if I hear them in a supermarket, I'm instantly transported back, you know, and I've become that, you know, Daniel and I have become that. And I love that for some people, you know, the songs that Daniel and I wrote are those songs to some people. That is such a privilege. And I've never made a distinction between that. So for me, the records are one continuum. Like, I don't make a distinction between me as a solo artist, me as a a part of that extraordinary band that I'm a fan of. And I don't see that, weirdly, I mean, this record is obviously much more confessional, and the title is a bit of a misnomer because I think when you hear the song, it's actually not sexual. One thing I'll say about the title track is it's a sort of it's an adjective or a je ne sais quoi, in that I am taking the word and I'm saying the way I feel about you and the way I feel about myself and my sexuality, it's indescribable. And the highest compliment I can give is this word. And it's just so joyful, and it's really, like, it sings really well. I'm shocked that no one's ever used this word in a song or as a title. The whole time I've had this for 2 years, and I've just been watching going, oh, please nobody use this as the title, because I think it's sort of genius in a lot of ways. But what, if anything, I know that a younger generation will be like, what? There was a time when you couldn't be gay? Like, a lot of young people like, why is he doing this, you know? And but it speaks to a very specific, it's my reclaiming of the word, and it speaks to a very specific age of gay men in particular. There was a book I read called The Velvet Rage, which really broke my heart. And it really is, it's a very specific generation of men that sort of were born in the 70s under this shroud of shame. And I hope that that's eroding now. But I'm zooming you from a country where they literally, in Michigan, there's a library that the town voted to shut down rather than have a gay book in it. You know, there's a bill called the Don't Say Gay bill. So I'm like, homosexual, bitch. You know, like, that's how I feel about it. I'm just like, come at me. So if anything, I hope it just reminds the community that we didn't get here by being polite. We got here by being political. And now more than ever, there's this sense of entitlement and like erasure that's going on. And I'm fighting back against that. But I hope people realize, like, you don't have to be gay to like this record. And the record isn't like there've been a couple of very conservative fans that have been like, oh, I don't know if I can relate to this record. It's a bit gay. Very Kath and Kim. Very Kath and Kim. You know, I think you're a homosexual, Kim. That's not the point. You know, it's just, here's another layer to me. And I think anyone of difference can understand what it feels like to have been, especially women. You know, a lot of what I'm talking about on this record is actually reaching an age where you feel like the society has said that you're expired. You know, I felt like the reason gay men and women love each other so much is that we understand beauty beyond the beauty myth. We can look at a woman's body, and because our main objective isn't to have sex with you, we can appreciate you for all of your qualities, right? And we also let a woman be sexual beyond her birth-giving years, right? And in a way that society doesn't. But as gay men, we also understand what it feels like to be objectified, and then to have to fit into this kind of like, unless you have abs and are under 30, you're not sexual anymore. And I'm just raging against that dying light. I'm just saying, hello, I don't want to be just your friendly sidekick or whatever. I don't want people to be like, oh, we love Darren, he's lovely and harmless. It's like, no, watch the video for Let's Try Being in Love. That's how I feel. I feel like a sexual being, and I think a lot of people will relate to that. Love your hair, love your question. Can't wait to see you. Mwah, lots of love.
We need someone to there is obviously the title track has got 2 parts in this record, and I just want someone to cut in Cathay Knight saying homosexual into that song. Someone
homosexual. Oh, yes. They will. That's great.
Yes.
Homosexual, Dom.
Mike is there, and Mike has this. I love this question. Please ask it now.
Hey all. First, just want to say, such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for choosing me to be part of this secret gang. Been a fan for a very long time, since To the Moon and Back. I remember waiting half a day to record it off the radio just so I could play it on loop. Like, yeah. And for whatever reason, every time you've dropped an album has been like a pinnacle point of my life. So I don't know, you've just always been there for me. So thank you for being back. Love it. Love you. Always have, always will. So my question is, I know you're an 80s fan. Is there any artist or album from this resurgence of disco that has inspired or influenced you? So like Dua Lipa, Jessie Ware, Kylie Minogue, have any of those artists or albums touched you in any way that, yeah?
Such a great question. And I just want to say, I know this, look, I've never been somebody that has a name for fans and all that sort of stuff, but I'm sure you know that this is true. It is so reciprocal in that you have sustained me. And especially as a solo artist, because for anyone to even know that I'm putting records out these days, it means so much to me, because the truth is, and you know this now, that when I was looking out into the audience when I was younger, I was so lost. And I became a pop star as an alter ego because I didn't love the person that I was. And I thought if I could create someone, maybe you would love me. And you being the collective, I don't know, you know, just the world or the things that I was missing. And what I found was this amazing, diverse, just mirror that looked back, and all the stuff that I was saying, I thought they were just secret things, you know, like Santa Monica, I was confessing, saying like, oh God, I feel so awkward in the world. And I was standing next to this man who to this day, I still say, like in the band, like he was so beautiful and he was so like thin and gorgeous and handsome and whatever. And I just felt so strange, but you all made me feel beautiful and loved and whatever. So thanks for always showing up and just helping me with my self-esteem, because over the years you just let me, like a little bit like E.T., give me little Reese's Pieces of compliments and just making me feel like, no, be you, be you, be you. So thank you. I love Dua Lipa. I love the resurgence of disco. I love Kylie's disco record. I love Steve Anderson. He's a huge influence on me. But truthfully, I tried not to listen to new music when I was making this. Agnes, her last record was like, made me jealous. I was just like, damn, because that was exactly kind of what I was doing. But honestly, what I was listening to was Patrick Cowley. So I went back to the DNA of disco. So I looked at all my idols. The biggest influence for me on this record was Faith by George Michael. That's why Homosexual has like Act 1 and Act 2. And it's meant to be a joke, like a homosexual act. Get it? Act 1, Act 2. And I love the fact that George made the record entirely on his own. And my point was like, I wanted to have on the back of my record, produced, composed, arranged, performed by, which was a limitation. I could have worked with all of these people that I loved. I wanted it to have this Shep Pettibone vibe to it. And you know, Cameron knows this as well as I do, that Shep doesn't work on records anymore. So I knew I couldn't work with Shep, but think people like David Austin, who was Madonna's longtime guitarist, bass players back in the day. I knew I could have called up Jelly Bean, Benitez. I wanted to have a sound that sounded a little bit like the 12-inch records that I was buying in the, you know, when I was first buying records. So the first ever time I heard a remix of, say, True Blue, the color mix, I wanted my records, this record, to sound like you were listening to 12-inch mixes, and they were off vinyl and analog. And then I did the research of going like, what were they listening to? What did they grow up listening to? So Sylvester, disco, Nile Rodgers, you know. So I looked at that disco and stuff, and then understood the queer sort of history of that, Black queer history, and looking at the, you know, so Patrick Kelly was huge in that, and Sylvester was huge in that influence. And then a lot of the technology back then, so those drum machines, obviously 808s, Linn drum machines, Fairlight was used a lot on this record. I'm just trying to think, but one day I'll give you a gear list, but essentially that was the thing. So even though I was watching all those artists, it's amazing how it's in the ether and everyone is kind of like inspired by stuff. But I think it's because her producers, the people that she was working with, were probably maybe around my age, and that was the thing. Great question. Thank you for asking it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Cam.
No, I'm not.
Great.
Alexander has a really good question, which could get a bit of intel for us ahead of the release.
Oh,
Alexander.
Hi, Darren.
There you are.
Hello.
Hey, Alexander. I'm trying to find your beautiful face. Where are you?
Hello.
Oh, hey, I've been looking at you throughout the whole thing. Hey, hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for choosing my question.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite nervous. I'm a huge fan of your music since I was a little. Basically, I love Savage Garden music. It's became my, you know, my when I start loving music and singing. So Savage Garden has been a huge part of that. And to talk to you over Zoom, it's really mean a lot to me. This really means a lot to me.
Me too.
And I'm really happy for your comeback and really excited for the album.
Well, that means a lot. Thank you. I was a little terrified that people wouldn't care. So thank you.
You're welcome. My question is, what's your favorite track on the record, and what's your inspiration in writing the track?
Well, I'll tell you about another song because I think my favorite track is probably Hey Matt. So we've spoken extensively about that. I feel like Hey Matt is sort of if you think about it in terms of movie terms or story terms, it would be like the Heart of Darkness of the record. And the record is centered around really my life, in that what happened was, there really is joy. I mean, the thing is that I released a couple of up-tempo songs first because I was so tired of being sad. And I made the record to survive, because what happened was I was so sad. And part of it was the extraction and the removal of being an artist from my life had made almost like bones that had all the calcium taken out of them. They had made me so weak and withered, and I didn't understand that. I'd underestimated what removing art from my life would do to my soul. But also, approaching midlife, I had written myself off in a lot of ways. I felt extinct. I felt purposeless, and I felt in some ways like I had this craft, like I was this person that made these beautiful wooden toys, but everyone was buying video games. And so there was no use for me anymore. And then on a physical level, I hated what I looked like. I felt asexual. I remember looking in the mirror and I just felt like I hated the person that was behind the mirror. So I had a lot of self-love to do. And I crawled out of that well of just darkness and hatred with Let's Try Being in Love. I saw the movie Call Me By Your Name about 17 times. Then I read the book 100 times, and I couldn't work out what was wrong with me. And I realized I was in grief. I was in grief for younger me. I was in grief for the fact that I didn't have any queer joy. My whole queer experience had been shameful. And so I created a universe that I could fix all that in. So there's a parallel universe on this record, and it begins with Let's Try Being in Love. It's somewhere in the mid 80s, and I'm going back and I'm remembering the summer of like 85, 87-ish. It's when I buy records like the 12-inch mix of, it's Into the Groove by Madonna. And I'm the kid that gets to go to school, and in my music class, everyone gets to play one record. And some kids are playing We Built This City by Starship, and I'm playing Into the Groove. Or I'm playing the 12-inch single of Angel by Madonna, and no one cares. But I'm just like, this is what it is, or I'm watching the Virgin tour by Madonna and I'm doing all the choreography and I know everything, but I'm trying to play that to the other boys at school. They want to watch Terminator, and I'm bringing them over to my house and we're watching Madonna live, the Virgin tour. But only in this version of a summer that I've created, and I keep coming back to this, and you'll hear it sonically on the album, like in the song Homosexual Act 1, there's this whole segue into it where I suddenly start referring to the past, and I say, it was the summer of love. It was the summer of love. And it's this fantasy world that I created. So in some ways, I would say that it's not a song, but there are these musical moments that I keep coming back to on the record that is this world that I created that I needed to in order to survive, much in the same way that I did as a child. In my turning 50, I created this sonic world in this room that you're sitting in, and in San Francisco, where I went to alone to record the album for, a couple of months on my own, where I could exist within the space of headphones or speakers and in a studio where I was happy, and then I turned that world into a real space. It became a video set. It became me making out with Scott Evans. It became me feeling comfortable with seeing myself on screen with another man and just being like, there is no ounce of shame that I feel about my sexuality anymore. Thank you for the great question.
You're welcome. I really can't wait with the release of your record, and congratulations in advance.
Thank you so much. Lots of love.
Unreal. I'm conscious we're going to get everyone in, and so Sheena looking very hard at work there, the work from home situation or at work, but fire away, please.
Hi, Sheena. Let's get you off mute. I think you're on mute. Let's unmute you. Oh, no, you're still muted. I can make up a question. Oh, there you are.
You can hear it. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Hi.
I'm so excited to be part of this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I have to, before I ask my question, I have to share a little story with you. And like, I've been a fan since I was 12, since Savage Garden first started. And one of your concerts that was here in Brisbane, my friend's mother was supposed to get me and my friend tickets, and she missed out on getting them. And I remember waking up one morning, like, I was heartbroken, and I woke up one morning and all I could hear was my mum on the phone bawling her eyes out, and she was on the phone with Jamie Dunn on B105 and telling them what had happened. And she's like, my daughter needs to see him so badly, and she's so devastated, and we couldn't get tickets, and she was crying, and which they gave her tickets for me to come and see you. So when I got to school, everyone was like, was that your mum on the radio crying? So it was
that's so lovely.
Yeah, it was.
I remember, that's so beautiful. I remember stories like that in our house, like, just because we couldn't afford tickets. Like, I remember probably one of the only nice things my father ever did for us, and he was a see you next Tuesday, let me tell you. But I remember my sister was obsessed with Kiss, and we couldn't afford tickets, but he drove us outside what used to be called the ANZ Stadium or something. And I remember we sat outside the stadium, and he stood on top of our old F100 truck, and he lifted her up. Not that it would help, but he lifted her up so that she could hear Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. I remember that, like, that fever to get tickets and stuff. And I also remember when George Michael cancelled his Brisbane show, which was just devastating. And my first ever concert cancellation, can you tell that I'm gay, if anyone even remembers this, was Bucks Fizz, right? And that was the first concert I was ever going to go to, and they cancelled. I remember my mum coming into my bedroom and going, oh, darling, Bucks Fizz have cancelled their show, doll. Oh, they're not coming. And I had to spend all day in bed crying because they'd cancelled. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, what was your question?
That's okay. My question is, do you get any self-doubts when you're releasing new music, and what do you do to get past that and really make new music?
Wow, great question. This is going to sound really arrogant, but this lines up with everything in my life outside of music. No, not with music, because if I have no control over the commercial aspect of it. None. And I'm also terrible at picking singles because I'm much more of an artist. So I very famously am the person that I thought Truly Madly Deeply was just too personal. I was that guy. I was like, this has to be a bonus hidden track. Because I wrote it for Colby. I wrote it for my wife, and it was supposed to be a song called Magical Kisses.
That song's on my website.
It's a very personal song for us, and I missed her so much. And I remember I was supposed to record this song called Magical Kisses the night before the recording session. The chorus of that song, it was exactly the same verses. It goes, "No beginning, a reason for living," and then it was supposed to go, "'Cause I've got all your magical kisses." Then the riff goes, da 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 da. That was it. Magical kisses. Same chords. That was it. That's all the song was. And I sat in the Bayswater Brasserie in King's Cross the night before, missed her so much. And I wrote, I want to stand with you on a mountain. I wrote that whole thing, came back to the studio the next day, said to Charles and Daniel, I can't record that chorus. It's cheesy as fuck. I want to sing this. They said, yeah, do it. And I recorded myself. Charles was in the next room. He was a big stoner. He was amazing, super genius, but he was a big stoner. Daniel was in the next room because it was so personal to me. I was like, I can't have anyone in the room. I recorded that vocal. And when it was finished, I said, guys, very dramatically, that was when Alanis Morissette's album was out and she had a hidden track. And I was like, this has to be the hidden track. And to their credit, both of them went, you are crazy. This is a smash hit single. This is going to be a number one. I had no clue. So no, I think when I love a record, I can't wait for you to hear it. And I have been sitting on this record for over a year now. And I'm just like, get it out. The only thing that I've been waiting on is vinyl. So yeah, but thank you for the question. And I love you. And I'm so glad you got tickets. Did you get tickets to the new show? Have you got tickets for the new tour?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm so excited. Right. I can't wait.
So I would have called up Jamie Dunn for you and got you some tickets.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Lots of love.
So good. It's time for Cassie and hopefully her cat to ask us a question.
It's Cassie and Cassie and Michelle. I love this. Yeah. All right, ladies. For everyone who doesn't know, I'm giving you the introduction first. Okay. I'm talking. I believe in the power of love. I'm talking. And everyone knows what that means. Okay, I'm talking. First of all, if everyone doesn't know, Cassie is the original Hold Me Girl. If you watch the DVD of Superstars and Cannonballs, Cassie was 14 years of age, or 13, don't talk yet, 14 or 13, and I plucked her out of the audience, and she basically gave me a frog hug. It was incredible. It was bordering on almost inappropriate, but she was my Hold Me Girl, and she's been my Hold Me Girl my whole life, and I just love it to death. And Michelle and Cassie actually came and visited me in Sydney recently, because on the down low, we keep in touch, and they gave me all these amazing gifts and stuff, and I adore them, and I love them, and welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi.
What's your question?
Thanks for inviting us and having us here. It's so good to be here with all the fans. As you know, I've been a fan since I was 11, and I was actually 15 when I was
okay, good.
So,
still not legal.
Yeah, and my question was, what is your creative process like when writing?
I love this question, and I'm so glad I picked it. I didn't just pick it because I'm obsessed with both of you, but I am. Starts off visually, and I bet you no one would even know that. It starts off visually, which is why this record started with a film, but usually it starts with the color, and this color was peach. The reason the color is peach is because Prince was obsessed with peach. Also, I know the color peach is something that was in that endless summer of 85 to 87. It was just a color that was everywhere. I used to want to wear it, but it wasn't masculine, so had to be sort of careful about that, you know. But I associate that color with a feeling of like nostalgia. And I started collecting clothing and photographs before anything. I knew what I wanted to look like. I knew I had to grow my hair like this. There was a whole persona and everything that had to happen before this record even happened. I didn't even fit into the clothes that I started buying. I was obsessed with a website called First Dibs. So I bought a lot of vintage 80s clothing. So I had a whole wardrobe that I created, vintage rosary beads, all sorts of stuff, everything that I knew this iteration of me, this era of me, I had to inhabit it. Maybe some of that came from the fact that I was also acting and I was studying performance and inhabiting characters and stuff. But for me, it's visceral. It's like, if you ever saw that movie with Christopher Reeves about traveling back in time, I need physical objects. I need to be surrounded by them, talismans and things like that. So the process starts first with physical objects, clothing, colors, images. One of the first images I had was just archways and Roman columns. That's why the front cover of the record is, it's me on a stairway. And that famous painting, which I continue to forget the name of, but there's a painting of Lucifer that descends from or falls from heaven and he's crying. And it was that idea that the homosexual is evil. and he's in this sort of pose. And the performer Tom Aspel actually has released an album where he ended up doing a modern version of that photograph. But that's where my thinking started, which was I wanted an album cover that was like Raphaelian, that my hair was sort of like this, that I was this sort of like a beautiful angel. And then it became that, no, what I wanted it to be was this sort of ascent into this peachy, beautiful heaven, my version of heaven. And that underneath it, I would be, at first we thought we'd have like a physical sign built or something, but that I would be embracing this this thing that used to be a brandishing and something negative, but it would be beautiful, and it would all be this version of 1985, and everything in the record is that. And then that influenced the sounds, the drum machines, the production technique, the colors, even the filming. If you look at everything, like to Poison Blood, the video, like all of my choices artistically, physically, I try to constrain and make sure that they're within that physical kind of the rules that I've given myself, because it just helps it be tangible and real to me. And I went so far as the new house that we've bought, that we're moving into, it literally has glass bricks and things into it.
Yeah,
like
love
in the
it.
walls, like, because as I said before, like crawling out of that well of darkness and depression stuff. It's like, no, I can live in a house that looks a bit 80s if I want to. I can fucking do that. Like, I have a lot of neon signs that Richard won't let me put up in the house, but I do have my own recording studio, and I do have a lot of glass bricks and walls and things that a lot of people would hate. And I'm 50, I can do whatever I want. So that's kind of what the creative process is. It starts with a feeling, starts with images, and then it becomes music.
Oh,
thanks,
thank you.
Cass.
And
Thanks,
Michelle, do you want to fire one away?
Love the album cover. When I saw it
Thank
and
you.
I saw the album title, I was jumping up and down. Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I was worried because I did all of that shoot with Lindsay Adler, including the back cover is an homage to Michael Jackson lace shot that was supposed to be the cover for Bad, and Walter Yetnikoff allegedly said it was. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially that's too feminine. There's no way we're releasing that cover, is what Walter said. So the album cover for Bad ended up just being a snapshot on the video on video shoot, but Michael's original concept was that, and that's, I believe it's a picture of Billie Holiday or somebody originally. He was doing an homage and very in touch with his Black roots, and he wanted to do this picture of him covered in lace, and the label said it was too feminine. And I went, oh, well, fuck you, Sony, I'm going to do it. So that was my back cover, and that's why that is that as well. And I recreated those setups in the music videos, but the original images were created 2 years ago with Lindsay Adler in the studio. So that's how far back my noggin's been thinking about this record.
Awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Michelle, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Thanks again for including us, Darren. That's very kind of you. My question is, Poison Blood, were you scared to, I mean, you're talking about depression and it being hereditary, some of it. Were you actually scared to include your family members in that and sort of let them know that, that they had the same thing as well?
Yeah. It's so hard, isn't it? Being a public person, it's like, I want you to know that I'm being real, but at the same time, there's a collateral damage because, we know Taylor Swift has relationships. We know that Alanis had relationships. We know I spoke very, very honestly in 1999 in 2 beds and a coffee machine. And I had to talk to my mum about that. And it was hard for our family. At first, I tried to be anonymous about it. So when I first released that song, I sort of made a promise that I really couldn't keep to my family, which was that, look, I'm going to write this song, but don't worry, I won't tell anyone it happened to me. But by 2004, my depression was so bad and it was so linked to my trauma in my childhood that I just had to. And it did cause problems in my family. But ultimately, I'm a public person, and I think that that ripple of discomfort is worth the healing and what it has given other survivors. Because I think keeping secrets, a victim should never have to keep the secret of a perpetrator. And that's what allows abuse to continue, because with the shame that the victim feels, we don't want to be tarnished by that brush. You know, and I think a lot of women will relate to this. A lot of sexual assault survivors relate to this. If you listen to Lady Gaga, to this day, she still won't name the person that has assaulted her, and I respect her completely. But she's not ready to do that for whatever reason. That is entirely up to her. But for me, it's so impossible for me to talk about growing up with violence without you deducting which person was responsible for that. And when I say my mother's an angel, who do you think it's going to be? And when it comes to mental health, it's a similar thing. I did speak extensively with my mother. My grandmother passed away when I was so young I can't remember her, but she's always been someone that I wish that I had have met. And my mum just adored her, and I grew up thinking of her as a saint. And the conversations that have come out of me talking about mental health far outweigh the uncomfortableness. And there's some stuff that I have an amazing publicist I'm going to shout out, which is Jade and Beehive. If there are any future musicians or actors or anyone in the entertainment industry that wants to work with people that have heart and soul, Beehive have been have so much integrity in dealing with some of the sensitive topics that I want to talk about, never sensationalizing, but always hooking me up with journalists. And we've told some pretty incredible stories about this stuff very sensitively. So yeah, great question, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm still trying to get
to
everyone. Trying to get everyone. So Adam, you've got a good question there about production.
Hi Darren, thanks for having me. Been a
hey Adam
for 25 years now, so it's happy to have you back again. Thank you.
Yeah.
So my question is, what was it like entirely producing an album yourself compared to your previous albums where you obviously worked with a lot of other people? So yeah, what was that experience like for you?
Great. And I think what was incredible about it was it's a constraint, right? And I think that all art needs something, whether that's a deadline, a budget, whether you decide this is a genre that I'm going to do or whatever. So it can go terribly wrong, because if you have all the control in the world, that's when something can lose focus, or you need an editor. And one of the greatest roles of a producer is to edit. So I didn't have anyone doing that for me. So what I deployed was, if I couldn't do it on my own, then it wasn't going to be on the record. And the best example I can give you in that is guitar solos. I don't play guitar, but there are guitar solos on this record. So how did I do them? Well, I sang them, and I sang them into an amplifier, because I'd always sung guitar solos before. That's how I'd work with a session musician, and I would say, this is how I want the solo to go. Like we've all sung a guitar solo, right? And if they're good, they should be singable. They're melodies. So what I did was I would either sing them into a microphone, or I would sing them into a mic through an amp, distort it, put a bunch of pedals, and so I had all the equipment that guitarists would normally have, but just not the ability to play guitar. And that creatively gave the record this kind of wonderful, naive limitation that I loved about the first Savage Garden record. It has these, and our demos had that too. So of course the record could be better. And if I had live strings, or if I had Nathan East playing bass on it, or whatever, it would sound different. But what it sounds like is a record that only I could make. Also, I worked with this guy, David Nahmani, who is the person who wrote the actual instruction book for how to use Logic. And I did his course 2 years in a row. And oh boy, this used to be like an alien language for me. But I just wanted to know how to do it all, and that was amazing. So it was exhilarating and thrilling. And now that I've done it, I don't need to do it again. It was really hard sometimes, but it was lovely. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. I can't wait to hear the whole thing in 6 weeks or so. So thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it too. Thank you.
And Sarah, taking us to next year. Talk to us.
Hi, Darren.
Hey, thanks for waiting.
Oh, no, that's okay. Thank you so much again, like everyone said, for the opportunity to be here and for the last, 30 years.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's just been really nice to hear everyone's, I won't say too much because I know we're in a bit of a hurry and I'm so nervous, but it's been so lovely hearing everyone else's story, and a lot of these faces are people that I've seen obviously many times before, and it's just such a lovely little contact, group that you've got happening, and your fans are beautiful. And as I've told you, I've made some amazing friends through your music.
That's great.
So thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously super excited to see you perform again. It's been a long time. And I guess my question is just, what are you most excited to perform live? What song are you keen to get out and play live?
Oh, off this record?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All You Pretty Things and Homosexual, because they're really epic. And I've just about signed off on the set list for the tour. And, there's only, you can only really play a few cuts from a new record when you're doing a tour. And I made it a real, I made a real promise. What I said on the tin of this tour is it really is a greatest hits tour. So as much as I would love it to be, this isn't, say, the Madonna Confessions tour where I'm playing most of this new record, because I am reaching out to people who are only Savage Garden fans as well. And people like all of you who are like, oh God, we know every single B-side and whatever. So it's really fun that there are little segues into little Easter eggs for all of you. But there's also so much of those first two records. It really is that show. And probably maybe the first, I won't say the last, but definitely the first time I've really done that. And so there's tracks off this record that I play, I'm really going to have fun with them. And then, sprinkling in little bits of the records that inspired this record into some of the old stuff, so that it's fresh for me, and it feels like I'm not stupid. Like, I'm not going to mess with the classics, but I'm playing some pretty old deep cuts of the old back catalogue. So some of that stuff is going to get discified for sure. So wear something sparkly.
I'm so excited. Cannot wait.
Me too. I'm more excited, but thank you. Yeah.
I don't think you are.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Awesome. Ebony, very patient.
Hey.
Hi, Ebony.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for waiting.
Cool.
What's your question?
That's all good. My question is, of this album specifically, I guess, what is like the one track that you feel, I guess, most attached to, or feel like helps us understand you as a human being better?
Oh gosh, great question. I mean, Poison Blood did a lot of that, I think. I'm so happy that you all connected with that, because it's funny to answer a question before, not that I was nervous about it, but it was very, very exposing, I think, to sort of say that stuff in a song. But Hey Matt, and also there's a bunch of stuff. Euphoric Equation, even though it's really up tempo, and like Cameron said, yes, it sounds like Gaga via Pet Shop Boys, via Madonna, but I'm talking about how I survived. And I just feel like I'm saying a lot of stuff on this record that I don't think I've said before. Feels like it's over. Might be my second favorite song on the record, or maybe my favorite song on the record too. It's heartbreaking. It's unedited, and there's no metaphors. I don't think there's any metaphors on this record, So I think a lot of people will relate to that stuff, and but don't worry, I'm okay. I get a lot of my sadness out, and then it's okay. But yeah, there's the songs. Thank you for asking that, and thank you for waiting.
Awesome. We've got two Matts, but maybe Matt Molino, if you can chuck your question in there.
Yep. Hey Darren, hey everybody, how you going?
Hey Matt.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, really appreciate it. And when I first saw the title of Homosexual, I think like 15-year-old me squealed inside on the couch. So it sort of transported me back to my first concert, which was Savage Garden when I was 15. And just that really ignited my passion for live music. So you know, since that journey, like I've seen hundreds of concerts, but like that will always be, you know, up there as my, you know, best and first experience. So thank you for that.
What tour was it? Was it the first tour or the second?
The first tour. Yeah.
Oh, I loved that tour. I preferred that. I loved that tour because just the costumes, and it was just so camp, and it was it was fun. There was a catwalk. Oh, fun.
Back at the Sydney Entertainment Centre. Rest in peace. You know. No, there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but so yeah, my question was just, what did you learn about yourself from this time, like the recording process, and was there anything that really surprised you? Like you sort of was like, wow, that's a revelation.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's why I knew I wanted to answer this. You know, I just learned that I've been producing longer than I realized I have been. And there is a sort of, I have to be so careful when I say this because I really mean this, and I really identify and support and empathize so much with the Me Too movement. And I'm so sensitive to misogyny. But there is a shadow misogyny that I think can happen to gay artists sometimes, in that we get ascribed a feminine quality and therefore inherit this sort of maybe 5% of some of the infuriating dismissal that I imagine women feel in the workplace all the time. So that's why I obviously have a deep connection with women because of my relationship to my mother and my sister. But I used to feel that in the studio. Maybe that's because I'm a singer too, and it happens to a lot of singers. You know, you get described as the person that just does the top line. And I'm like, well, what's the part of the song that you sing? That's the song. Like the melody of a song, like that's a huge part of the song. And yet sometimes songwriters will describe that as just the top line. And I'm like, okay, that's a massive part of the song. What's Happy Birthday? Is it a bunch of chords, or is it that incredible melody? Well, it ain't incredible, but that melody, right? And so I've always defended a lot of my female artists like Mariah and Madonna, who are incredible singers, but also producers that never really got credit. But this was my first time where I then had these skills, and I can do everything now that all these other producers were sort of doing for me. And I realized, you know, I've been underselling myself a lot. You know, and I'm so grateful to people like Robert Conley when I made The Tension and the Spark, or people like Justin Shave, who really gave me a seat at the piano and really sat down with me and let me, without any ego, just they wanted to hear my input. They let me program. They let me add a drum machine. They let me write my bass lines. Like I've been writing bass lines since the first record. You know, I go back to songs like Truly Madly Deeply, like boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. That's me. That's me listening to bass lines my whole life and me singing that to a bass player. And I'm going, do it again. I'm like, no. It's got to go boom, 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 boom. But you got to hold that note. It's got to bend. It's got to do this. I've been doing that since I was 23, but I never got a credit for it. And so a lot of women at the top of their game never get credit for this. So I think that's what I learned was that it's infuriating to be a woman, and that I've experienced just a shadow of misogyny, and wow, it sucks, and I'm more capable than I thought I was. Great question.
Awesome. Thanks, Darren. Can't wait to see you on tour.
Thank you. Me too. I mean, I can't wait to see you. Thanks.
Remy up there, also waiting patiently. Yeah, do you want to fire away your question?
Hi, Remy. Thank you for waiting for so long. Hi. Oh, let's unmute you. Hey.
But you've got to love Australia in lockdown, because this is actually my daughter's iPad for school, and Remy is my daughter.
Oh, what's your name?
Janelle.
Janelle, g'day.
And you would know me from Instagram as Demi Rain.
Oh my God, we talk all the time. Hello, g'day.
My strategically placed painting of you.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God, that's incredible. I thought that was the photograph. That's amazing.
No.
Me hiding behind a blanket. I love it.
Yeah, the
beautiful
lockdown project to hide from the children.
Beautiful.
And the original.
Do you know what? That sequence, that's the original sequence. You better digitize that, girl, because you know what? Between you and me, Sony are having trouble finding the original master of that So we're having discussions right now. Girl, digitize
this is
that.
precious. And,
it is.
You know, us older people, because I would be the age of your sister.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
Still have CDs in the car.
Yeah.
And this CD has always been in the car, even, you know, so much so that my children know it inside out. And my little boy once, he has a rare condition. We're in a hospital a lot, and we were being transferred from one hospital to another, and he was having a panic attack, and they said, it's okay, we can go in Mum's car, and we'll go with you in Mum's car, and we'll try and keep you calm till we get to the next place we're going to. And she said, what's your favourite song? And he said, To the Moon and Back.
Oh.
And he had his Buzz Lightyear, and he was singing it with his Buzz Lightyear, and the ambulance lady joined in singing it. And she said, how about we play this all the way to the hospital? And so she sang every song from the album. And my son said, how do you know Savage Garden too? And she said, because everybody knows Savage Garden. It was the most beautiful thing. They bonded, and I could leave him with her while I went and had to do what I had to do. And I thanked the Ambulance Association for that afterwards.
That's so beautiful. You sound like a beautiful, beautiful mum too. That's beautiful.
It's just, you know, you get what you get, and that's life, and you just gotta, you know.
Yeah.
But and he's a child of difference too. So a lot of the things that you talk about, or what Carly was saying, it's like, life can be very, very hard, and you got to deal with it the best you can. But my question, will there be a Truly Madly Deeply?
I love this question. Yeah, on this record. It's so funny. I know what you're referring to. So when we made Affirmation, the record company said, yeah, it's great, but there's no Truly Madly Deeply. And then Daniel and I wrote I Knew I Loved You, and we faxed them back and said, here's your fucking Truly Madly Deeply. Here's your #1 hit. And we had a #1 hit. I think Feels Like It's Over is that song that anyone that loves Truly, I think it's that song. There'll never be another Truly Madly Deeply. Just like there'll never be another Holiday by Madonna. There'll never be another, whatever. But on this record, I know that Poison Blood and Feels Like It's Over are that song for people that really love, ballads, and they love that super emotional side of me. Feels Like It's Over, I think, is kind of emotionally devastating and extraordinary in that sense, and that's that song. And for anyone wanting it, that's what a 50-year-old sings about today. A 24-year-old thinks in very simplistic, naive ways. Madonna would write True Blue because she said that Sean Penn was the, quote, coolest guy in the universe. She wouldn't write that today. But that, the love as a 50-year-old after being married for 17 years is much more complex. And so are my songs. But I love you, and I love what you've given to me over the years, and I loved how you spoke about your son. And I can't wait to see you hopefully on tour.
Absolutely. I've got Sydney and Brisbane. I'm hoping to maybe get some more venues along the way if I can. But yeah. I always felt that, even though what they said to you that, brought out with the facts, I think hidden on every album, there was something like that stuck with you, because you've got Insatiable, and then you've got Dublin Sky and So Beautiful and Words, and even Never Be the Same Again and Blackout the Sun. I think every one of those songs were this is the Darren Wow song that's hidden.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And the thing is that I'm aware of that. And I like, from the very beginning of Savage Garden, listen, there were songs on that record like All Around Me, Carry On Dancing, Chained to You. I've always been a pop fan. Our first single was I Want You. That to me, that first single says who I am as an artist. It's I Want You. It just so happens that just like George Michael, just like Madonna, I've always loved both. Madonna is Into the Groove and Live to Tell. That's who I am. I'm Truly Madly Deeply and I Want You.
Yes.
That's it. You'll always have both of those songs in my life, and I'll never not write a killer ballad. That's just who I am. And Ye of Little Faith, sometimes I've been amused by comments of people like, oh, am I going to like this album? I'm just like, chill. Oh. Yes, you're going to love it.
Every album is different. Every album, it's a new chapter. And I love this. And I'm so excited that you're here and you're 50 and you're doing it, because I'm like, yay, the 50 plus people are like, yeah, we're alive, we're here.
I'm very grateful. Yeah, of course. Yeah, me too. Wonderful. I love you, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
There is a song called "A Little Death" on this record too that you guys are going to lose your minds over. But Darren has to go on an interview very soon. But Matt Bond, you are there. Last question. He's kind of covered your questions. If you want to like think of one on the fly, go ahead. Or otherwise, feel free.
Yeah, I have thought of one on the fly to kind of go with that question. So
sweet.
But hey, Darren, how you doing? It's been a very long time. You'll remember me. You tried getting me on Insta Live. I'm the guy that did lighting for Affirmation Tour.
Yep, we've been speaking on and off, and you had some glitch, or I had a glitch. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah.
So you did lighting on the Affirmation Tour. Okay, what kind of creams are you using?
Lighting for it.
No, what kind of creams are you using? We all need to know. You haven't aged. No, this is unfair.
Get it filled.
Really? Oh, this is okay. Wow.
Really?
Okay.
That's it. I have really bad dermatitis, and
I'm spending too much money. Okay, go ahead. What's your question, dude?
Yeah, no. Affirmation Tour was the first actual major tour I worked on, so you really gave me my kickstart into the industry. So thank you.
Oh yeah, Willie Williams.
My question. Yeah, definitely. It gave me my passion for lighting. My question was, how much control over the production did you have? But you did it all. You were saying you were using tricks like running a mic through effects pedals into an amp and that to get your guitar solos and that. Where did you come up with ideas like that? Was it just experimenting, or was it from studying the great Bruce and all that kind of thing?
Well, obviously I was aware of I think, because I'm a pop slut, so I'm aware of everyone who's doing everything. I knew Justin Timberlake did that for vocal for Sexy Back, so I knew that he did that. Timberland and Justin did that for the vocal for Sexy Back because he wanted a distorted vocal. I remember seeing Carolyn Polachek do So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings on, might have been Letterman or something, and all of a sudden she picked up a different mic and she hit a pedal and she sang the guitar solo, and I was like, wow, what? So that's when I did my research. I was like, how the hell? And I worked, the person who mixed my album is Trevor Yasuda, who worked with Rick Knowles for many, many years as his assistant, and he's one of my best friends, and he mixed my record. I had a chat to him about just some technical aspects of, what was the best way to do that. To be fair, in the end, what I ended up doing was just recording an actual vocal, even though I experimented with the amp thing, I found the best way to do it was record a clean vocal and then put it through amps afterwards rather than do it live, just because there was so much feedback. And I have a smaller room here. When I did that vocal, I didn't do it in a proper acoustic environment. I actually sang a lot of my vocals right next to my hard drive, not in a booth, not anywhere fancy. A lot of my vocals on the record just I would do like a demo vocal, and then I'd spend weeks trying to recut a more perfect version, and I couldn't make it better. So I learned, this. So I learned a lot of those things of like, wow, sometimes there's a vibe. You just got to keep the vibe. Another little factoid I'll tell you is that there were some artifacts and sounds in the song music video, and Trevor, the poor thing, had to spend ages removing these painful sonic artifacts just because I imperfectly recorded some things. But there was such a vibe in my performance that even though I re-recorded it properly with some advice later on from David, the Logic Pro expert, and some other people, and even tried doing it with proper tape none of it could match my shoddy kind of at-home version, so kept the at-home version. So there's some nerd speak for nerds who are into it. Yeah, great question. And it's great to see
your mind sometime about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Willie's doing the tour again. So Willie Williams, who did,
sweet.
Well, he's done every one of my tours, but yes, it's going to be really exciting and fun, and it's good to see you. I think that, Cameron obviously has to get back to work. I know Jade is probably just about to explode because I have some other live interviews to go. So I'm looking at Jade.
Hi, Jade. Hi, Cameron.
I want to thank all of you because you're incredible, and I talk too much. I did try to warn Jade about this, but I apologize. Thank you for being so patient. I love you. Hopefully, if all of you are okay with this, speak now or forever hold your peace. I would love to be able to put this on YouTube for other people who missed out. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Great. Jade, shall I end this Zoom and get onto another link that you give me for my next interviews?
That would be amazing, Darren. That would be great.
I love
absolute ball on your next.
Love you guys. You guys are all VIPs
love you,
to me. So let's come and love you all. Let's make sure we keep in touch.
Thank you.
Send me a DM. Send me a DM and we'll follow each other, and I love you, and we'll see each other soon. Lots of love. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Cam. Thanks, Jade. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, Darren.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye, everyone.
I'm so glad that we got to meet you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jade.
Cameron, do you want to stay on for a sec? Cameron's gone. Okay, bye.
See you. Thanks.